Greetings to all. Dear children, we are going to discuss the poem A Roadside Stand, composed by Robert Lee Frost, an American poet of 20th century. Robert Frost was born in 1874 and lived till 1963. Frost tried his career as a farmer and then as a school teacher. But finally, he could understand that his real calling is to be a poet. So he emerged out as a poet and became the most prolific, renowned, and significant personality in the field of poetry. He is highly regarded for his realistic depiction of village folk and common man. His simplicity of composition and unbounded love for nature made his poems unique and eternal. A very popular and oft quoted poet, Frost had been frequently honored during his lifetime for his literary work. His poems have the magic to captivate readers with their simple but realistic themes. Before we go into the detailed description of this poetic piece, let us talk about poetry. What do you understand by poetry? In simple words, we can say it's a collection of words that expresses emotion or idea. Isn't it, children? Good poems show images which leave the reader with a sense of delight and wonder. According to William Wordsworth, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes origin from emotions recollected in tranquility. Children, have you ever purchased anything from those establishments which are at the outskirts of the city? Some of you would have, but many of you would never have had. May I ask you why? It is because they are not hygienic, the ambience is pathetic, poor quality of goods sold there. But have you ever thought or have you ever tried to peek into their life? Have you ever tried to inquire why they are there in such pitiable condition? Have you ever sympathized with them? This poem gives us an opportunity to look into the life of these poor people. In this poem, Robert Frost deals with the lives of poor deprived people of village who are leaving no stone unturned to earn their bread and butter with dignity. In order to keep their body and soul together, they prefer to sell some small eatables in their shabbily established roadside stand than to indulge in begging or thievery. Frost takes his most favorite topic, that is, a strong defense of the rural people who, according to the poet, are soon going to be uprooted from their origin by the city dwellers. Because of his love for village people, Frost appears to be very upset with their pathetic and helpless condition. He knew it, that it's because of the urbanization which has galloped all their farming land for development of his nation. Once these farmers were very affluent and prosperous, but now they are compelled by the circumstances of their life to be dependent on these roadside stands. The important thing to note is that the city dwellers are highly insensitive. They behave recklessly with these poor people. The poet has given a sharp contrast between the city and village folk. The little old house was out with a little new shed in front at the edge of the road where the traffic sped, a roadside stand that too pathetically pled, it would not be fair to say, for a dole of bread. but for some of the money, the cash, whose flow supports the flower of the cities from sinking and withering faint, the polished traffic past with a mind ahead, or if ever aside for a moment, then out of sorts at having the landscape marked with the artless paint of signs that with N turned wrong and S turned wrong, offered for sale while berries in wooden quarts or crook naked gold squash with silver warts or beauty rest in a beautiful mountain scene, you have the money. But if you want to be mean, why keep your money this crossly and go along? The hurt to the scenery would not be my complaint, so much as the trusting sorrow of what is unsaid. Here, far from the city, we make our roadside stand and ask for some city money to feel in hand to try if it will not make our being expand and give us the life of the moving pictures promise that the party in power is said to be keeping from us. It is in the news that all these pitiful kin are to be brought out and mercifully gathered in to live in villages next to the theatre and the store where they would not have to think for themselves anymore, while greedy good doers, beneficent beasts of prey, swarm over their lives, enforcing benefits. They are calculated to soothe them out of their wits, and by teaching them how to sleep, they sleep all day, destroy their sleeping at night the ancient way. Sometimes I feel myself I can hardly bear the thought of so much childish longing in vain, the sadness that lurks near the open window there, that waits all day in almost open prayer for the squeal of brakes, the sound of a stopping car, of all the thousand selfish cars that pass, just one to inquire what a farmer's prices are, and one did stop, but only to plough up grass, in using the yard to back and turn around, and another to ask the way to where it was bound. And another to ask, could they sell it a gallon of gas? They could not. This crossly, they had none. Didn't it see? No. In country money, the country scale of gain, the requisite lift of spirit has never been found. Also, the voice of the country seems to complain. I cannot help owing the great relief it would be to put these people at one stroke out of their pain. And then, next day, as I come back into the scene, I wonder how I should like you to come to me and offer to put me gently out of my pain. In this poem, A Roadside Stand, Frost presents the life of poor people with clarity and with the deepest sympathy and humanity. The poet here compares several characteristics of civils. In the course of this poem, you will notice a sharp contrast in the mindset, attitude, and behavior of arrogant city people. Their highly insensitive and snobbish attitude is contrasted with the utmost simplicity and innocence of common villagers. Now let us have a detailed analysis of the poem and find out how the poet has portrayed all the themes element in this poetic piece. The little old house was out with a little new shed. The poem begins with this line. It says that the poor village people have extended their little old house with a new shed, of course, with a new hope also, in order to sell their produce and earn some money to run their lives. Purposefully, they have put up these roadside stands near the highways so that the passerby would surely buy something from them and thus enable them to go to their bed without any ache of hunger in the stomach. Here, it is to note that these poor people are not asking for any charity or donation for themselves. Rather, they just want to lead a life of dignity by selling their produce to these city dwellers. They offered wild berries for sale in wooden quarts. They too wish to have some money in their hand so that they can rescue their families from withering and sinking. As we all know, that money only can address to most of our needs. It is the money only which is helping the flowers, means the people here, people of the city, from withering and sinking. It means it is the base of one's survival. But unfortunately, all their dreams and desires were looming like a mirage amidst the dust of solitary highways, as the city dwellers were very arrogant and highly sophisticated people. They just do not want to purchase anything from their roadside stands. Nothing to say of purchasing something from their pathetically played roadside stands. They don't even want to look at these stands because of various reasons of their own. These city people criticize these villagers for spoiling the landscape by mushrooming their filthy roadside stands. These people are annoyed by looking at the artless paint and wrong letters. They are perturbed to see the unimpressive and toppled up signboards. It's important to note here that these reckless city dwellers don't have any heart to sympathize with these people. They don't even try to understand that the shed owners are not educated people. So, whatever little they have done, they deserve appreciation for that. But alas, nothing happened like this. They went to the extent of calling these roadside stands a blot and a blemish at the scenic beauty of that place. In this way, the stranger comes to a close with an open ended question. Do the shabbily established roadside stand, rough, crude paintings, and wrong sign of north and south mar the beauty of the landscape? Or the running vehicles with ruthless passengers ruin the beauty of the mountains? After facing the rejection for their local produce, the village dwellers feel highly grieved. They take it to their heart as they were closely associated with their local production. Children, when we nurture something ourselves, we become emotionally connected with it. It's very natural. Since these poor people have cultivated these wild berries at their own, the rejection of these objects make them restless and depressed. The only thing they wished for was some coins in their hands with which they could also come up to the level of normal living. But these unsympathetic city dwellers are not ready to share their money with these poor people. They are very much rude and careless for these village people. These poor people set up their shade with high expectations, being inspired by some movies to get some support from city dwellers, but all their expectations end in vain. Not only this, they are also told that political party in power actually deprive them from a prosperous life. So they are upset not only with the city dwellers but also with the politicians. The poet refers to the news which talks about the relocation of the poor people to the vicinity of the theatres and the shops. Fake promises were made by the political parties to take good care of these people. These diplomatic people lured the simple rustics for a better life by providing monetary compensation for their land. Using sharp irony, Frost refers these people as greedy good doers because these are the people who would not hesitate in snatching away the leaking roof of village dwellers to fill their own coffers. Apparently appearing to be the benefactors, these greedy good doers are actually the beasts of prey who exploit the innocent village people for their selfish motives. Initially, these greedy people, that is, the civic authority, government, and even the social service agencies, persuade these village dwellers with the glitter of gold and finally leave them in perpetual poverty. In ancient way, people used to work during day and sleep in nights, which has been reversed here, where they are not able to sleep at night because they have not worked in the day. Don't you think, children? The same is happening in India. Our urban areas are engulfing all the countryside and thus leading the village folk only with some cash but no permanent occupation or accommodation. Finally, these poor people who have been befooled by the highly intellectual and selfish group of people are compelled to earn their bread and butter by extending their old house with new shed. Thus, they have become the victims and caught in the web of grinding poverty forever and ever. Frost expresses deep sorrow at the predicament of these poor people. He is deeply grieved at the helplessness of these poor village dwellers. At every square of brick, these poor people come out with a great hope and expectation to have prospective buyers. But every time their hope is to be smashed down by the snobbish city dwellers. They long like a small children to get some buyers, but become disappointed to see that the city dwellers are not ready to favor them with any purchase. If ever some cars stop there, it's merely to ask the farmer's price or to turn their vehicles around, or sometime just to get directions, as that time GPRS was not in practice. And even at times, the cars stopped there just to inquire if they could get a gallon of gas from there. These baseless inquiries annoy the farmers like anything, as who will expect a farmer to sell fuel for the vehicles? Unaware of the villagers' plight and engrossed with their own selfish motives and pleasures, these city dwellers seems to be in flux of emotions. That is why perhaps they are asking for a gallon of gas from a farmer's shop selling berries and vegetables. In line number 42 to 52, Frost feels that the business of these poor people is not at all profitable. In spite of their so much hard work, positive mindset, great patience, and unshakable faith in Almighty, these poor people are not able to come up to the minimum level of living. There is a wide gap between them and city dwellers, and this gap is growing wider and wider day by day. There is no ray of hope left for any corner for these people. There is no one to uplift them from their pitiable situations. At that point of time, the poet is overwhelmed with emotions and contemplates, and finally, being very frustrated at the perpetual plight of these people, Frost takes a very harsh decision for them. That is the final solace, the eternal peace. Yes, it is euthanasia. There is a concept of euthanasia to administer mercy killing for these people who have lost all the hopes of life. So Frost thought that it is the only way out to bring out these poor people from their eternal suffering and pain. Another view is that euthanasia is symbolic. Actually, the gradual growth of the city will eventually kill all the countryside. So only the cities will flourish and the city dwellers with, whereas the village areas will perish and village people also along with them. In line number 49 to 51, the poet concludes the poem. He says, what happens was not correct. It was just the outcome of one's emotions. When he regains his normalcy, that weird thought of mercy killing was out of his mind. The poem in this way ends on an open-ended note that there can be some other solution of sustaining life. Frost's distrust on city dwellers is apparent in the poem. He thinks that the city dwellers are very insensitive, ruthless, and arrogant people. They do not have any community feelings. They confine all their wealth and resources to themselves only. They do not feel it necessary to share their money with those who are living in different life conditions. This kind of behavior is highly regrettable. How can one think of distancing himself from other person on the basis of class, creed, or financial differences? One must have compassion, empathy, love, care, concern, and a willingness to extend a helping hand to those who are in need. A little help can bring a miraculous change in the life of others. Primarily, I believe this kind of people must not prevail in society, and if they are in existence, they must be addressed and reformed immediately. Dear children, you are the young boys and girls, the future of our nation. Through this poem, I would like to urge you all to inculcate a sense of belongingness towards all the other fellow beings without any discrimination. This is the call of this time. You all are aware that the entire globe is struggling to cope up with the deadly coronavirus. If in this kind of situation, the rich people like city dwellers will confine their resources to themselves, what will be the face of earth? How will our brothers and sisters, who are the daily wages laborers, rickshaw pullers, vegetable sellers, roadside stand owners, be surviving if we will not be responsible enough to take care of them? So, in the end, I would like to urge all my viewers to be a better human being and have pity, compassion, sympathy, and a feeling of belongingness for all.